Following on from last week's video at the best ships for tier 6 ranked, this week we're going to take a look at the best ships for tier 8 ranked, which takes place, much like Bronze League, in a 6v6 format with carriers. I'm going to do something a little bit different this week, because there's just an absolutely ridiculous amount of choice at tier 8. We're going to highlight 2 of the best picks for each class at this tier for ranked.
Ooh, you're hard, showing off.
Strap in, this is going to be a ride. As before, we'll start with destroyers, and I'll try to stick to 1 premium and 1 tech tree ship per class. My first destroyer pick has to be Akizuki, because my god, this is a ridiculously strong ship. You can just farm absolutely everything. Her DPM is absolutely insane, by far the best of any tier 8 destroyer. This is coupled with boosted penetration values on her high explosive rounds, allowing her to farm pretty much everything bar battleship bows with her 30mm of stock HE pen. And you can take IFHE if you really want to farm just everything. Don't underestimate her AP either. It has excellent penetration and can even punish battleships that show too much broadsides. Her gun ballistics are also incredible, with comfortable gun handling and flat shell arcs at close range to make hitting your targets a breeze. If this offensive power wasn't enough, she's also got pretty hard hitting torpedoes with access to a torpedo reload booster to really flood them out over a short period of time, despite her limited tube count. Of course, there are downsides. Her fire chance per shell is low, and even lower if you take IFHE, but you fire so many goddamn shells that this doesn't really matter too much. She's also pretty slow, with a low top speed and poor acceleration due to her low power. She handles more like a cruiser than a destroyer, with one of the worst turning circles and rudder shift times in her tier, making her feel more sluggish than me on a Sunday morning. Akizuki is a pure damage dealer. If you're able to watch your admittedly very high health pool and not make yourself a priority target through smart use of island cover and your smokescreen, you'll be able to rack up incredible amounts of damage on all kinds of targets and really make an impact on the battle. Teaming up with a radar cruiser and hunting the enemy destroyers can play a huge part in turning the battle in your favour. But what if you want to play a more active role as a solo knife fighter away from your team, contesting caps and being the thorn in the enemy's sides? Then my second destroyer pick is for you, which is the Cossack. If Akizuki is a flamethrower, then Cossack is a Swiss Army knife, able to fulfill pretty much any role your team needs whenever they need it. Let's start with her firepower, and you may have noticed earlier that Cossack has the second highest DPM of any tier 8 destroyer. She's got the highest HE alpha strike of any tier 8 destroyer too.
Oh, that's a lot of damage!
And this pairs excellently with her incredibly low concealment of 5.5 kilometers fully upgraded, which allows her to sneak up close to pretty much any enemy DD. This concealment advantage, coupled with her fast turret traverse, gives Cossack time to set up for the engagement and take advantage of the element of surprise.
Surprise, motherfucker!
She also has excellent torpedoes, albeit an incredibly low quantity of them. They hit fairly hard, reload quite quickly, and are able to be single fired like most British ships. You just have to make sure to plan their use smartly. You're unlikely to be able to dev strike a battleship with them admittedly, but they are an incredible tool nonetheless, especially for flushing out smokescreens. They pair very nicely with her short burst smokescreen, which while having a short duration, reloads incredibly quickly and has a high number of charges. Speaking of short things, you've also got access to a short range hydro, which lasts for an incredibly long time. This gives Cossack incredible amounts of utility, and whilst her hydro can't compete in range with ships such as Z23 or Loyang, it lasts for longer than any of my past relationships. The abundance of smoke charges on Cossack is useful, as she has absolutely atrocious AA, so her smoke is often best utilised hiding from planes. That's the only real downside though, apart from her terrible firing angles on the rear turret. She's decently quick, has access to an engine boost unlike other British destroyers, and is decently manoeuvrable too. She's the perfect all-rounder and is probably the best destroyer pick if you want to be able to carry matches. If you don't have access to either of these ships, honourable mentions go to Lightning, Loyang and Le Fantasque. Now on to cruisers, and this was probably the most difficult section to choose by far. There's just so many competitive cruisers at tier 8, but I think I've managed to narrow it down to my 2 favourite picks. Although really, any of the honourable mentions I'll bring up at the end are perfectly good choices too. You know what would be a perfectly good choice? Subscribing to the channel. I see you non-subscribers. Do it. Don't miss the 1,000 sub giveaway coming very soon. Up first is Baltimore, and in my mind this is the slightly stronger pick just for the sheer amount of utility and flexibility she has. The most important of this utility is her radar, which is incredibly long lasting and has more than good enough range for ranked. This is a great tool for assisting your DDs around caps, and pairs especially well with the Hydra that she also has access to in separate slots. Completing the trifecta of her anti-DD powers is her 203mm guns, which have the highest DPM of any heavy cruiser at her tier, allowing her to absolutely wreck any destroyer she comes across, which can be crucial to turning the tide of a match. Her AP is also incredibly powerful, possessing improved ricochet angles, meaning she can absolutely punish any broadside she encounters, even heavily armoured battleships at close range. Her guns do have a catch though. Well, it's a positive and a negative. She has very high shell arcs, which are great for using island cover, but not so great for long range fire. Luckily, rank takes place mostly at close range, so for the most part it's a non-issue. Just bear this in mind. Luckily for Baltimore, she's able able to take somewhat of a beating at close range, as her 27mm of plating is able to bounce all guns below 406mm in caliber, giving her somewhat added survivability, although this should not be relied on at all. There are, of course, downsides with her though, the biggest of which being her vulnerability to 406mm guns, which are very prevalent in this format. You'll see why when we get to my battleship picks. These are able to overmatch her armor and punish her relatively exposed citadel, which is also incredibly weak if you allow someone to catch your broadside. She's also quite slow and doesn't have access to torpedoes to dissuade people from pushing you. However, these are small prices to pay for the incredible utility and firepower she brings to the team, and I believe she is the cruiser that can have the largest influence on matches. You need to play smart though to ensure you don't get caught out and deleted. My second cruiser pick is slightly different. It's Bayard, the French light cruiser. First of all, Bayard has access to the insanely powerful French destroyer engine boost consumable, allowing her to push over 40 knots with the speed flag equipped. Sticking with the French flavour, she has access to a main battery reload booster too. Her unmodified DPM is only behind Cleveland at her tier, and with the reload booster active, she becomes an absolute menace to society. This is best used against enemy battleships when they've just burned their damage control to stack fires on them, or to absolutely delete enemy destroyers. Speaking of destroyers, while she doesn't have access to radar to directly counter them, she does have Hydro to allow her to more safely push smoke screens and spot destroyers and torpedoes at closer ranges. And she is able to close the closer ranges, as just like Baltimore, her concealment is pretty good. However, don't get too comfortable.
Now let me be clear.
Unlike Baltimore, she has absolutely no armor and a really low health pool, along with a huge citadel. This means that Bayard is best played in a support role at the start of a match, using her comfortable gunnery, good speed, and slipperiness to harass ships from longer ranges. Bayard is a ship that gets infinitely more dangerous the longer a game goes on and the lower enemy health pools get, so try and conserve your health as much as possible. You become an absolute assassin in the late game with your incredible burst DPM of almost 500,000 with the reload booster active. You can still island camp like mines, but you can also do so much more, and this is why Bayard is my second pick for a cruiser for ranked at tier 8. Oh, she also has torpedoes, which is nice. As I said before though, there are so many excellent choices at this tier, so my honourable mentions of Congress, Tallinn, and Edinburgh, specifically with radar, are all amazing choices also. Certainly more choice with cruisers than there is with battleships. So, battleships. I'll be honest, there's only really two choices I can make here, and both are premiums. Sue me. I will suggest a tech tree pick at the end, but just know that these two battleships I'm about to mention are so far clear of anything else, it's not even funny. No wonder they've both been removed from sale. First is the Massachusetts, and I'm sure you all know about her. She's an absolutely incredible ship, especially for a small scale game mode like ranked. This comes down to two main things, her firepower and her firepower. First of all, her firepower. She has 9 406mm guns that hit incredibly hard with their heavy American AP rounds, with very acceptable turret rotation speeds allowing you to keep them on target, and high penetration ensuring they go through. Admittedly, their accuracy is less than great, but you're fighting at such close ranges in rank that this doesn't matter so much as it does in randoms. Second of all, her firepower. She has absolutely insane secondaries with improved accuracy, allowing her to absolutely pump out damage with the correct build, which you should definitely have to maximize her potential. If nothing else, this puts immense pressure on enemy BB's damage control by setting fires, allowing your teammates to stack fires and floods in no time. So, she has insane firepower, but what else? Well, she has an improved heal, with its cooldown being half that of other battleships. Note, you heard that right, half. This allows her to pretty much just keep healing any fire damage she's taking, and 5 charges when upgraded means that you're unlikely to run out of heals before either you or your opponent is dead. Her turning radius is also exceptionally tight, which is certainly useful in a brawl, albeit her rudder shift certainly leaves something to be desired. Unbelievably though, she does have weaknesses. She's absolutely coated in 32mm plating, which is exceedingly vulnerable to HE spam. She's also quite slow, but again, this isn't so important in ranked. Perhaps the biggest weakness though is that she's not available to be purchased unless you've got a time machine to travel back to Black Friday. Unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, depending on your outlook, this is a weakness she shares with my next pick, which is Lenin. Albeit this ship hasn't been available for sale for almost 2 years now. I really tried to pick something other than these two ships as the battleship pick, but realistically, there's no choices that even come close. I'll sum Lenin up quickly so you know how to counter her, then I'll quickly cover the only super competitive tech tree choice in a little more detail too. Lenin has 9 insanely powerful, insanely accurate 406mm guns, all located in her bow and all facing forwards. She's got absolutely incredible armor, almost immune to HE spam and AP penetration when she's bow in, and she's got access to the Russian damage control consumable, which is very useful in a brawl for its quick recharge. However, she does have weaknesses. Her citadel is above the waterline, meaning she's weak to citadel damage if you're able to get around her sides, and she's obviously unable to fire her guns backwards due to her unconventional turret arrangement. She's also quite slow, her AA is horrid, and she can run out of charges of her damage control if you put enough pressure on it. Lenin is just a ridiculously tanky ship that's able to deal serious amounts of damage, so let's talk about the only real honourable mentions. The first of which is Vladivostok, Lenin's tech tree sibling. This ship has many of the same benefits of Lenin, the only real difference being that her turret arrangement is worse for bow in fighting, and her guns are less accurate at longer ranges. The second honourable mention is Zkill, which is an absolute secondary monster with torpedoes and hydro to assist at close ranges. Just be wary of her weak armour and interesting turret arrangement. If you have neither of these, North Carolina will do, I guess. Just don't get too close. So there we have it. We're finally through the best picks for tier 8 ranked. Let me know what you think of my picks and what you think are the best choices for tier 8 ranked in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinions. Oh, you want me to do a pick for a carrier?
No. No, I don't think I will.
You all know what the best choice is anyway. If you want a captain build or equipment loader for any of these ships, check the World of Warships Captain Guide Google Doc in the link in the description. It's a fantastic guide for all your shipbuilding needs. As always, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, dislike if you didn't, and let me know what you think in the comments. I love hearing your feedback. We're insanely close to 1,000 subs now, and I'm thankful for all of your support. I'm so excited to be able to announce the giveaway I have planned, hopefully in Saturday's video on Trump if we reach the milestone before then. Now go out there and get farmed by Karga every other match.